Constitution Committee in Israel. And this issue interests a lot, of course, because we talk, and sometimes it's about the same concept and ideas, incitement to terror, incitement to anti-Semitism. I have to say I was a little bit troubled when you, Laura from Facebook, from Meta, you said you have a global policy. And I was very worried because we know that when we talk about freedom of speech, and of course anti-Semitism is not part of freedom of speech, but the limiting and the actions needs to be taken by stakeholders, by governments, by you, is dependent a lot. The legal standard is what is the chance that it will create real life harm. It's one of the standards. And if you apply global policy, the same words, the same incitements that will, maybe if it will happen in South Korea, the effect will be minimum. It happened in Israel or in the US, where you have a large Jewish community, the effect will be different. So the fact that you have a global policy is troubling to me. And I would like to address later, how do you your policies, or how should you adopt your policies locally? But the main problems that I learned from the other questions is you don't recognize anti-Semitism as something to report. It's part of a bigger picture. I tried to report while we spoke here about I looked actually on Twitter, the Holocaust never happened. I looked it up and I found a video that 120,000 people watched last 18 hours. I'm not talking about that's saying that Reagan said that there was no Holocaust in Seoul. No, of course it's a lie. Of course it's Holocaust denial. I tried to report it myself. And sadly, I'm not trying to take down anything from other occasions, but in order, I had to think 3 times if what I'm seeing is concerning a group or about misinformation. I had to decide, and then does it deny violent acts like Sandy Hook and the Holocaust? Now, again, Sandy Hook was terrible, but there is no, this is the word anti-Semitism just do not appear in the reporting mechanism, definitely not IRA definition. And I have yes, if what I'm seeing, even how to report it and when to report it. So the fact that you are not adopting the IRA mechanism makes it hard for us to ask you relevant questions, and that's what we saw all around, and you give the answers. And the main problem, if I will ask any one of you, how many people are engaged in anti-Semitic activity and denying Holocaust on your platform? Just a figure. You have a figure, YouTube? How many people are engaged in Holocaust denial? Just let's take Holocaust denial.
Well, you mean how
people,
many
actual eyeballs?
Because we think about videos rather than people.
Yes. How many eyeballs are engaged? If they will see a video talking about Holocaust denial, they will say like or share or post it. How many people?
Well, we don't have that number.
You don't have. Facebook? You don't have.
We have a legal obligation not to do this. We can't do this by law.
No, I don't look for persons, numbers, general figures.
No, I'm saying we have a legal
So you know
obligation,
what's the problem?
But we have to change the law in Europe because that's actually how it
You are the head of government affairs, you are the policy manager, and you are senior director of government affairs. I am sure that if I will have, instead of you, the marketing department, and I will ask them, how many people can I sell a swastika to? I'll get numbers. I'll get numbers and maybe even some kind of an offer how to sell to those people swastika-shaped cake or memorabilia from the Holocaust that does not look at the Holocaust as a bad thing. I'm sure your marketing department would be able to get to them because otherwise you wouldn't have any reason for them to stay online. So I'm asking again, and I think for the next hearing, maybe bring your marketing people and ask them what are my chances of selling swastika-shaped cake to people in the US, in Europe, or any other place, I'm sure they will have an answer.
The answer would be that it's completely forbidden to do that, of course, and it doesn't work the same as organic content. At policy, when there is an ad on Twitter, it's more checked. In this case, this would not be allowed because, this would completely violate the ad policy on hateful conduct.
Indeed. The marketing people would not encourage you or make you an offer to sell any of those products. It would be forbidden and taken down. If I have a second, I would, yeah. Great. On the challenge of getting numbers, I appreciate the frustration with wanting every day as public policy professionals as opposed to marketing in wanting these numbers as well, to sometimes be able to have a constructive discussion. It's not easy to get a number because engagement could be many different things, right? It could be about views, it could be about likes, it could be about who posted it and how often does someone post it. So actually coming up with a number is not as straightforward as it seems. On top of it, as we mentioned, or as I mentioned specifically on the meta policies, we don't categorize content based on the target group as opposed to the other specific elements of the policy. And there are good reasons for that. The way that we need to enforce our policies need to be global and consistent across the board.
No, it's not.
And yeah, I don't want to but I have an answer to your global question. Maybe we can take that separately.
And I can answer the question similarly. We've removed over 50,000 channels in Q4 2022 for hate speech violations. And so, we do have the data across the vertical of hate speech, but similar to the others, we don't break that out because there are many types of hate speech and it's not possible to do it for every single type.
It is possible, but okay. As I said before, I think the idea of global policy, especially when we're concerning issues of speech and regulation of speech, frightened me a little bit, much more than what we discovered today. I think that legislation in the UK, in Europe, in the US, in Canada, and all other countries that are part of this task force and other countries is a must, because the fact that even today, even after the hearing last time, even after the hearing today, I can not go online and report a post or a video or a tweet as anti-Semitic and make sure that we will know the numbers and we will know the dangers and we will know how much you will be transparent of how much you took down and how many responses human eye checked and how much is AI. In this day and age, I cannot understand. I cannot understand how you're returning to your offices and knowing your platforms are not responsible to prevent anti-Semitism, and the responsibility should be with governments, not with you.
Thank you.